So this is a 1985 Mercedes 300D diesel engine. It's an OM 617952. It was a California emissions engine, so it had a what's called a deox canister, as well as EGR and all the other stuff that's no fun. These were fitted in cars from 78 all the way up to 85, and primarily in the 300 series in America. There were a few others that had non-turbo versions of this engine. We got between 80 and 125 horsepower with the last engine in its turbo configuration. I will be putting a whole set HE221 on this engine. The kit comes from Doomsday Diesel. You'll see that in a minute. It should make power a little closer to 150 with the stock pump. I'm not going to aim for a whole lot. It is a big truck. It's old. I don't want to push things too hard. Mostly just for efficiency. The new whole set turbo is much smaller than the old Garrett turbo, I believe. It's going to move the efficiency range a little higher in the RPM band than the stock turbo. Not a terrible thing. The Mog in 6th gear spins somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 RPM to go 60 miles an hour, which with this engine and the horsepower and torque it delivers, it will actually do consistently. Then my issue will be transmission heating, but that'll be an issue for another time. So far I've just gone over it. I haven't changed any internals. It's a stock motor. I'll just be doing manifold gaskets, water pump gaskets, thermostat. The vacuum pump I pulled apart and serviced. You'll see that later. Alternator bracket, swapping out the turbo drain, and setting valve lash. That's kind of it. So this is the stock Mercedes Garrett turbo. It made about 8 pounds of boost and would get you about 125 horsepower. It wasn't super efficient. It was non-intercooled. It was just a big old lump of iron. And it had the California emissions deox canister. It was basically a catalytic converter. Funnily enough, there was a recall on them, and the fix for it was a cat delete pipe. A factory test pipe from Mercedes to be fitted to California cars to delete that so it wouldn't catch fire. I will be replacing it with this whole set HE221, this non-California manifold, and some of the parts over here, all from Doomsday Diesel. If you want to pick up one of these kits, he's got HE200s, HE221s, as well as some larger kits. It is an almost direct fit up. It just requires an adapter, these fittings for the oil drain on the turbo, which he has beautifully machined, the 90-degree V-band elbow, his new oil restrictor turbo oil feed line, and that's about it for that. I will also be using the Doomsday Diesel oil filter relocation kit. The oil filter sticks up into where the doghouse would be, right next to the driver's thigh. I've also got a oil thermostat mount for the oil cooler, as well as the Doomsday Diesel EGR block-off plates. Some of the other things I've been working on and picked up have been the water pump. It will need some fixes to the heater core hose barb, as well as the thermostat housing hose barb. To go along with that, I got the air breather pipe. The water pump sits below the thermostat housing, and the neck on the back is below the highest most point, so it does have a breather here that can be replaced with this. It pipes into the head and lets all the air escape. The thermostat housing was in good shape. It doesn't have corrosion nearly as bad, so I'm just going to use it as is. I also picked up a block heater to replace one of the factory coolant drain plugs in the side of the motor. And this is the vacuum pump that I've been pulling apart to service. I'll include a picture of what I did to it here. I have a replacement vacuum check valve. There is a custom O-ring in here. I have not been able to find a replacement, but it isn't completely flat, so I'm going to use it as is. If it does end up leaking, I will look into making a new one myself. These are the internal check valves that allow the diaphragm, the piston in this case, to pull back in. An interesting thing to note about this vacuum pump is all of the air it pulls in from the vacuum inlet from the brake booster or the vacuum climate controls is vented out through these when the piston comes back up, which pushes it into the crankcase. So if you have a vacuum leak, all of the unfiltered air this thing sucks in goes into your oil. No wonder the bearings inside of this thing are known to fail. But I did a fluid test on this. I got it up to temp, topped the little basin here with solvent cleaner, and let it sit overnight. It did not drain down at all, so the gasket in there I'm going to call good and put it back together as is after a little bit more cleaning and checking some of the other O-rings. Bolts that I may or may not use ever again.
Like the saying always goes, can't find you handsome, at least you can find you handsy.
Handsy or handy?
Oh, is that the saying?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
I've always went with the handsy approach.
Oh, that's the good stuff.
Juicy.
Factory oil filter housing has a thermostat and bypass valve and everything built into it. It's not a terrible design other than how much space it takes.
Yeah. There you go. Are you gonna have the other one like frame mounted?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of shit not on the motor anymore.
Mm-hmm. That was the whole point, is to make it as compact as possible. Yeah, that's the stock filter.
He's chunky.
Yeah. So I guess it's split in half. Half of it's a full flow and half of it's a bypass, so you get filtration the whole time.
Yeah. I'm sure back in the day it was paper. No, that's not old enough to be paper. I always keep thinking
It's fabric.
yeah.
In there.
It's like a whole quart in there by itself.
Yeah, really.